Everyone, Dan of TheChartGuys here, checking in on the psychedelic sector after getting a lot of attention today. I'm going to summarize it real quick what's going on, and then we're going to look at some charts and see where we stand in the short term, as there's certainly a little bit of hype in the sector. So recently we've had the short squeezes taking place again as confidence returns to the broader market, as it's been grinding up the last 2 months essentially. We have names like BBBY, most notably BBBY, causing another short squeeze. And again, it's the meme stocks, it's Reddit, Wall Street bets all over it, and it's gamma squeezes. And I'm going to say a lot of words and not explain them in depth. So if you don't know what a gamma squeeze is, go on Google and read about it. But essentially, you had a couple individuals make big money on Bed Bath & Beyond, something like 27 million to 100 million. This young guy and his uncle, and they are now interested in MNMD and I believe taking a large stake in MNMD. The uncle is a co-founder and former chief medical officer for the company. So that's led to a bunch of hype, and it was mentioned on CNBC this morning. And when you have this scenario of short squeezes taking place, it's like blood in the water, and the sharks just start to go nuts for it. And we've seen it in the past, and it's happening again to a certain degree. And the usual suspects, GME and AMC, very short-lived pumps. That was a nice equilibrium bear break on AMC. But very short-lived pumps. Fubo had a big one. The bottom line is we're seeing a lot of big moves up and then some big pullbacks in those names. So after that BBBY hype, everybody sees everybody making all the millions of dollars and all the big gains, up 200% in a week. And MNMD, due to the mention on CNBC pre-market here, ran up huge. So MNMD had been one of our weaker names, technically speaking, as it dropped down to fresh lows just a week and a half ago, while most of these names have bottomed for the last 6 weeks. And so we then had a little bit of a bounce after earnings, and then you could see the reaction in the huge volume. The dollar volume here, you're going from an average of 2.5 million shares, and you're going up to, we're going to be about 230 million shares. So huge spike. And again, it was a run up on little volume pre-market, and then a whole bunch of volatility on the morning. And it doesn't look like much volatility here, but that's a 25% bounce. This is a 32% pullback into a 35% bounce. So right now, as I'm speaking at 4 p.m. Eastern, these two individuals that are the poster boys of this hype, we'll call it, they are doing a Twitter Spaces and doing some Q&A. But as we know, we've been watching the sector to get hype and euphoria, and this is just a very small dose. This is at least getting it on people's radars, these tickers, and some of them we're going to look in on here. And again, my criteria is I need millions of dollars traded on the day. I know your penny stock is the best one, but if it's trading $15,000 in a day, I just don't care about it. So that's my criteria for looking at a stock. It's got to be trading millions of dollars a day. So MNMD, big time breakout and big time bull move. We have an hourly equilibrium. We are watching our high, low, lower high, and heading down towards support. Another potential factor is Canada outlawing, I don't know if that's the right word, but stopping naked short selling. And so that's forcing bears to cover in some of these names that are dual listed on the CSE in Canada. And so that may pertain more to US cannabis stocks, but some of the psychedelic names are dual listed in Canada as well. Just another little piece of news that is having a potential factor here. So as we've been saying, I care about the fall. I care about the run up into the voting season and the fact that we're going to be seeing cannabis and psychedelic initiatives getting media coverage and getting attention, ideally getting social media and Reddit hype. This is just a perfect example to show you what can happen where in just one day you go up 30 to 50% when the big bull volume comes in. So definitely nice to see in the sector, and congrats to the bulls on MNMD, and definitely the kind of move you want to take a little bit of profit taking, definitely taking off some position, especially with the fact when you look at all the other names that just pumped on Reddit, and they all have pulled back very significantly. So there's going to be pumps and higher lows and big pullbacks along the way. This sector is extremely volatile, so it's going to go into extremes in both directions. but MNMD is going to likely be the volume leader for the foreseeable future. This isn't just a one-off volume day. It's going to drop notably tomorrow, in my opinion, but it will still be way more than the average. So keeping an eye out on the sector as a whole for clues. All these individual names are going to be doing different things, but MNMD is where the volume is for the sector right now, and so that's what we're going to be paying attention to as far as the sector leader. It used to be CMPS, where its dollar volume on average was maybe 7 or 8 million. And again, MNMD's dollar volume today is maybe 450 million, and that's just roughly guessing, probably closer to 500 million. So just massive volume out of nowhere. And US cannabis names are looking at this and saying, please do that to us someday. So again, tightening range on MNMD. Keep it simple. If we hold 90 cents, it's a high or low. Anything under 121 is a low or high. And we're going to be watching for this tightening range to break tomorrow. CMPS, consolidation after being the lead bull, multiple hundreds of percent off the low. Again, it's been doing nothing but going up for months. 3 months now. Over 3 months of being the lead bull for the sector. It has started weekly consolidation. In an ideal world, the bulls hold a weekly high or low, not losing these EMAs here, which would keep it a weekly bull flag, and for the bulls to keep bigger picture control. I traded a little bit of everything today and tried to get CMPS as a laggard and chose the wrong name. ATAI was a better laggard. We'll look at it in just a second. But just knowing all the hype and surrounding MNMD, instantly what we do is, who else in the sector is looking to get some volume, some sympathy movement? And so CMPS had this big spike on the morning after an initial little pullback, some nice big volume increasing. And so I was looking for it. We broke the high of yesterday. I was looking for this to start a daily bounce. We had a pattern of a lower high every day for the last week, and that pattern had broken. So I got in right around 1755 or so, I believe, on the way up. And then was saying, all right, well, let's see what the bulls can do with it. And then we confirmed a 5-minute downtrend, and it looked like, nope, there is no correlation here. These pumpers care about the low cap names, the names that are penny stocks, that are high movers. And so we dumped all the way down to a new low of the day, and then the bulls showed up, definitely tardy. But we did close nice and strong. So the daily candle is trying to, you see the volume behind it as well, trying to shift this momentum. And so next resistance after 1775, we're looking up at 1799 and 1864. The bulls do need to confirm an hourly trend change. It's a nice increasing volume bounce off of the low, but whenever this move tops out, we then have to confirm the hourly trend change if we're going to have confidence that this daily bounce can have follow through. So no position for me here. Got shaken out before the bulls showed up late on the morning. Bottom past 11 a.m. And we look at ATAI in comparison, and again, same thing. It was weaker on the morning, and then just slowly saw that buying and ended up plus almost 10% from the low of the day and a nice solid close. So ATAI daily time frame is still holding higher lows, and it was initially a little bit of a rising wedge, and a rising wedge is when your bull breaks lack follow through, and it shows a little bit of bull exhaustion. So we'll be keeping an eye on this resistance line, but it's a good sign for the bulls to maintain the higher lows. 432 was a little higher low, 438, and now 442. So keeping the daily higher lows going is ideal. And again, same thing, we will need an hourly trend change. This nice bull move on the day is great, but if we're going to see bounce follow through, the hourly higher low and higher high are needed for confidence. And resistance, we had initial resistance 480 to 486, so that's going to be a little resistance zone. And then the recent top from yesterday, 496, is the next level. And again, this is not even the kind of catalyst. I mean, this is a nice catalyst, and again, it gets eyes and attention and media coverage. Fidelity was posting, midday articles saying, check out these high runners. So we're getting eyes on it, but in terms of a political catalyst where you're confident in a multi-week runner, that's what I'm looking for to be, the big move for this sector. But nice to see big moves in the meantime. With this kind of move, it's hard to be confident with how fast and hard it is and what the Reddit names do, it's hard for me to be confident in looking for multiple days of continuation. It definitely happens, as BBBY showed us, but other names, people tried to swing GME and AMC and it didn't work out. We dropped real quick. CYBN, another one. So nice healthy daily higher low at 72. Held daily EMA 12, which is this red line. And continuation on high volume. So bull break of 90 cents continues this uptrend. Next resistance level after 94s, we'll look at 1 psychological. That round number also always has a large number of shares on it when it's support and resistance. But look at the weekly volume. This is a great sign for the bulls. Again, just a confident bottom after fear. And now that the broader market has found at least a temporary bottom, I think it might be more than a temporary bottom, but fear's being alleviated enough for people to throw money around to the higher risk, higher reward names. And this monthly shift, and again, the volume behind it, this weekly volume is very notable. Low, high of the bounce, build a little base of support as a higher low, and we are in a daily and a weekly uptrend. And again, just a clear momentum shift. And the dollar volume is in these names. CYBN today, well, actually, it's pretty low. I thought it was higher than that. So that's maybe $4 million traded. ATAI today, we're looking at $4.5 million traded. Again, CMPS, something like 8 or so. A little bit less. So 7 million. And again, just roughly multiplying the shares by the midway point of the daily range. Very rough, but gives me close enough. So these are still very low volume. Again, $8 million, which is higher out of these names aside from MNMD, is still nothing big picture. So ATAI and CMPS need the hourly trend change to the bulls. CYBN is in an hourly uptrend. So I would call anything above the low of today an hourly higher low next time we consolidate. Drug was another high runner today. And again, huge upper wick. But dollar volume, massive, hundreds of millions. So this clearly was chosen along with MNMD to be the runner today. And we did get back a lot. This move, because of the retracement size, which is Fibonacci retracements, and on TradingView here, if you do Alt-F, it'll show you the retracement size being over 70%, and anything more than 50% has us scouting for lower highs to be the result of the next bounce. And MNMD shows us that on its hourly, the retracement size was very significant, 70% plus, so that had us anticipating the hourly lower high was the most likely result of that next bounce. And so it's almost like MNMD is just a little bit into the future of what drug bulls are hoping for. Got to set an hourly higher low, bounce to set an hourly lower high, and maybe we get an hourly tightening range tomorrow. SEEL, I was unaware of this name. Really nice tightening pattern. When you have a clear resistance like that, 104, obviously it's a go signal when it breaks, and this was another big volume name, $10 million. So again, it's two different leagues here. Hundreds of millions and $4 to $10 million. They're just not even comparable. So big money, and we see it in cannabis as well. Big money chooses TLRY. That's the vehicle for trading, where the dollar volume is at for liquidity in both directions. And so we're now seeing that MNMD and drug are taking that, I don't know what the word is, but they're taking that lead. And we'll see how long that keeps up. And we'll see if profit trickles out elsewhere. Honestly, this is just a little bit early because it's mid-August. If this right now were, the start of October, this would be perfect timing, in my opinion, for a run-up into the election. Still a little bit early, but if the broader market bulls keep strong, we can just keep weekly uptrends going until then. So SEEL, nice tightening range, daily bull break, hourly. So high, low is $1. Again, that's psychological level acting as support after we broke it. And now anything under 121 is just an hourly lower high. So if we fail 121 tomorrow, we've got a tightening hourly range to be watching, just like MNMD gave us today. And you'll often see a lot of the volatility taking place in extended hours, generally pre-market. And that's because, again, a little bit of volume goes a long way. And just think about it this way, just a made-up scenario, but let's say I've got, $20 million of MNMD shares. I'm saving $5 million in cash, and I am helping run this up in pre-market, because what I can do is spend $5 million to be buying 130s to 140s to run it up, and then I can sell $15 million in the 130s after the bell rings. Because again, look at the volume here. You've got, in the first half hour of trading, dozens of millions, when it only took maybe a dozen million to run it up pre-market. A little bit more than that. But you get the idea. It doesn't take nearly as much volume. And that's why you see these short squeezes get a lot of their movement in extended hours, because the big money that is making these moves know that, and know that you can squeeze a lot easier in more thinly traded conditions. And when the market is closed, there's less market makers, there's less liquidity, and so they take advantage of that. In both directions, BBBY dumped yesterday after hours after some dilution news into the end of the day, and then after hours. So it goes both ways, but bulls have been taking advantage of it to the upside. All right, so lots to be watching for the sector. And again, I'm not an investor in this space. This is all hype and euphoria. A lot of people learn their lesson from cannabis as far as the slow grinding wheels of Washington, D.C., and policy changes and political changes in conjunction with, after a hype euphoria run, those market caps get way overinflated. And so taking some profit into hype euphoria runs is the way to go. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this sector. Definitely still very interested. And again, where the volume and the volatility are is where the trading opportunity is. And even if you miss it, what do you do if you miss this move? Well, we have trading styles, the back burner trade and Google Chart Guys back burner, but first 5-minute oversold conditions after a breakout to look for an hourly higher low. And MNMD was perfect for that, because we dropped down to 5-minute RSI of about 30, 31, set the hourly higher low, and bounced 35%. And there was an article that was released pretty much summarizing what I talked about in the beginning right then. And in my opinion, that was intentionally timed to get that bounce going, because again, it's a fairly common style to be knowing to look for bounces in first oversold conditions after a big breakout. And certainly that's a strategy that we've utilized in the cryptocurrency sector during hype and FOMO runs often. First 5-minute oversold, great, nice bounce. First hourly oversold, so on and so forth. MNMD bulls trying to get a little bit of momentum here after hours. Again, look at the dollar volume. It's taking 400,000 shares to go from 99 cents to 107. Meanwhile, you had 1.4 million shares giving you a range of 2 pennies into the close. So 30% the volume, giving you 300, 400% the range. Congrats to the bulls, and do good things.